covered. Our Dan Orlovsky threw out an interesting question the other day. What's worse or more detrimental, drafting a quarterback too early and missing, or paying a free agent quarterback too much and missing? We bring in our GM for that, Mike Tannenbaum. Mike T, thanks so much for being with us. What would you say is more detrimental to a team, Mike?
If you draft and miss a quarterback, when you have a young quarterback under contract in our rookie system, it's a gold nugget. I mean, the list is long, Molly. You could talk about the Jets and the Giants, Zach Wilson, Daniel Jones. You could talk about Anthony Richardson and the Colts, Cleveland going back to Johnny Manziel, on and on and on. If you don't have a productive young quarterback under contract as a rookie, it's really hard to win. And the inverse really proves my point. You look at a team like Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, what they've been able to do. They got a great young player who's under cost certainty for a number of years. That creates an opportunity. Same thing with the 49ers with Brock Purdy. So to me, you get the right quarterback at the right price, you have a real chance to win.
Shannon?
No, the answer is a veteran quarterback. If you think about what Atlanta did, they paid a boatload of money to Kirk Cousins. They missed. They stuck $100 million. At best, at worst case scenario, you draft a rookie and you miss on him, you're gonna give him $40 million guaranteed. That's it. That's it. That's if he goes #1 overall. You get him somewhere down the line, you might only be out of $40 million. You miss on a Kirk Cousins, that's $100 million. You miss on a Russell Wilson, you got dead money on your cap. If you miss on a veteran quarterback, with the money you have to pay, that is much, much worse than missing on a rookie. Because now if you miss on a rookie, you're gonna be out of there after he's gonna be out of there after 2 years, 3 years top. Miss on a veteran quarterback like a Kirk Cousins or Russ, you got hell on your hands. So I'd rather miss on a rookie than a vet.
I'm going to agree with Shannon on this. No surprise, Mike T. Love you to death, Mr. CIA, but you know you never cease to amaze me. I'm going to go with the free agent, and here's the reason why. Even though I will concede that it's bad, considering the amount of investment in the evaluation process and what level of cachet is placed upon that for executives to make the decision on a young quarterback, right? I would tell you it's worse if you miss on the veteran quarterback in free agency. And here's the reason why. It's not just because of the money that you doled out to acquire that quarterback, but it's also the fact that you saw their body of work. And so to make that investment and the miss on it, because it speaks to a lack of evaluating skills, dare I say, if you end up picking somebody that doesn't get it done. Now, of course, if they're coming off injuries and stuff like that, you have to take that into consideration. As bad as Kirk Cousins looked, he was injured the year before, and he came back after that and then had a good start, but tailed off later, and Penix Jr. comes in there and plays lights out. But the flip side to it, what if you are a team and you're an executive and you go and you pick a veteran quarterback that health is not an issue. They just come to your squad and they play like trash. And that could cost you your career.
Right, I understand that, guys. I think we're sort of overcomplicating it. Just go to the top of the draft. Tennessee, Will Levis didn't work out. They have the first pick. Cleveland, Giants, second, third. Just keep on going right down. Show me a team in the top 10. I will show you a rookie quarterback that didn't exceed expectations. And you guys are making great points. You miss on Russell Wilson and all that guarantee money. It is catastrophic.
Nick Foles in Jacksonville.
Right. But, again, look where Jacksonville's picking. Has Trevor Lawrence worked out? No, he hasn't. They're picking fifth. They changed coaches. They changed GM. Didn't work out at the Jets with Zach Wilson, obviously also Aaron Rodgers, and look, they changed as well. So to me, when you look at the last couple of years and you look at the top 5, top 10 picks, guys, there's a correlation to likely a first-round quarterback that didn't work out.
All I know is the quarterback in this quarterback situation in this draft is going to be absolutely fascinating, and I'm not just saying that because the Giants picked 3.
Yeah. Tim Ward's going to be an instant star in Tennessee. Would you believe it?
I would not. And listen, I base that on what we've seen transpire the last couple of years when we're talking about C.J. Stroud was a star his rookie year. Jaden Daniels upended him and was a star his rookie year. Are we talking about Cam Ward being on that type of trajectory, that type of level? I just have a hard time thinking he's going to reach that level, so I would not.
Yeah, it's setting a very, very high bar, but that's what these guys before him have done. All right, next one, more quarterbacks. Wouldn't you believe Jackson Dart winds up getting drafted ahead of Shedeur Sanders?
I would believe this. I would, because
I put a pin in that one. I want to come back to it in a minute with Schrager, but here's the last one for you. Steelers will take Jalen Milroe with their first-round pick. Would you believe it?
I'm calling the audible on this one.
Yeah.
Originally, I said I would. I think more so I would talk myself into that because of, again, traits by Jalen Milroe. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say would not. I think as much as we talk about his athletic ability, the warts in as far as playing the quarterback position, we can't ignore that.
Yes.
We can't ignore the way that Jalen Milroe played this past season, especially the latter part of the season. I don't think those are things that teams can ignore, so I'm going to say would not.
For those of you at home, that's why it took so long for the graphic to go up. He literally changed his mind in the moment.
Yes.
Score that one, not the fault of our staff.
That's
working
right.
hard behind the scenes. Well, you're wondering to yourself, well, I don't know anyone saying Jalen Milroe is going to go 21 to the Steelers. Yes, you do. Dan Orlovsky said it yesterday here on Get Up.
I'm more intrigued with the Steelers and Jalen Milroe than I was 2 or 3 weeks ago. I would start with this. I don't think that there's a team in the NFL that is in a worse situation when it comes to the quarterback position than the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this is a guy that has rare physical talent when it comes to Jalen Milroe. So I understand he's flawed, but I don't think he's nearly as flawed as a passer as some people believe.
All right, Mike Tannenbaum, I'm looking at the face on Traeger, but I want to start with Mike T, because I know you made your living evaluating these sorts of things. What are your thoughts here? Jalen Milroe as high as 21.
Yeah, right player, wrong round. You know, we talk about floors and ceiling. He has a high floor. He has 77 touchdowns between passing and running. He has a ton of ability, and the ceiling's very high. But right now, from the pocket, his completion percentage is just average and needs to get better, Greeny. When you're the Steelers and you pay $30 million a year, excuse me, and a second-round pick for DK Metcalf, you want to win right now. Jalen Milroe is a win-tomorrow quarterback, and that's why, to me, it's very inconsistent to take him at 21 and give up a second-round pick for Metcalf.
Yeah, listen, and I mean, it chokes me up just thinking about it, too. Here's the thing, Schrager. I mentioned earlier in the hour, I mean, I've been working on these players since January. Jalen Milroe's name was being talked about like in the late second, third round. All of a sudden, he's invited to the draft. He's coming. There's a lot more buzz than I would have expected. Should we be expecting Jalen Milroe to go in the first round of this draft?
No, but it could happen. Here's what he brings. He brings something in a package this year where you put him in on the red zone and you give him 5 plays a game. You give him 10 plays a game, and then you let him learn from a veteran quarterback, and eventually he's your guy. If you're the Steelers and you're assuming that Rodgers is not your quarterback, Milroe at 21 wouldn't be the pick. You've got a veteran team with veteran wide receivers. The team that I would look for is a team that has a guy that maybe they're not 100% certain is the long-term future that you could put him in, like a Seattle. They signed Sam Darnold to a 3-year deal. Sam Darnold has had ups and downs. Seattle wouldn't take him at 18, but if we're sitting at 27, 28, 29, 30, you want to trade back in, that's the Milroe pick where, all right, Darnold's struggling, don't worry, we've got Milroe, or it's 3rd and 6 and we want to have a splash play. Let's put Milroe in there. He does the read option and we get it. This is not a full-time quarterback in year one. He's certainly not a quarterback of a team that went to the playoffs last year and still sees a window with veteran guys.
Listen, to spend 5 consecutive minutes with Jalen Milroe was to love him. He was here in studio. So what I'm about to say, I say as someone who will root for him forever. Jalen Milroe, after the Georgia game last year, which was in September, threw more interceptions than he did touchdowns, and 2 of those touchdowns were against Mercer. So, I mean, this was a struggle of a season in his final year in college. I agree. He has enormous talent. It is a project, and perhaps a long-term one. I saw out of the corner of my eye, you sort of reacted when D. Wood said, I could see Jackson Dart going ahead of Shedeur Sanders. What were you looking at?
Look, there's some buzz locally here in New York about Jackson Dart being the preferred quarterback to Shedeur Sanders in the Giants organization. I would say this, if the Giants were to trade back into the first or to trade back and take Dart over Sanders, understand they have done their work on Dart too. There was a lot of news that Shedeur Sanders was getting another visit, and they've been to 13 people went to the pro day. Take a look at these facts right here. They've done as much work and have been in the building in Ole Miss as much as they have for Shedeur Sanders. Furthermore, Joe Shane has a kid analyst at Ole Miss, so you've got people there. And then Charlie Weiss Jr. is the one calling the plays. And if you look at Brian Daboll and his history, and of course, Mike, you know this, and D. Wood, you know this, Charlie Weiss and Daboll through the Belichick tree have a lot of connections as well. The Giants will know everything they need to know about Jackson Dart. So if they take him over Shedeur Sanders, it's not just them throwing, pun intended, a dart at the wall. It's because they've done just as much work on that player as they have on Shedeur.
Okay. I'm calling the courtroom to order. Here's what I'm thinking, Tannenbaum. So I'm putting together what Schrager told us at the beginning, which is that the Giants are taking phone calls, whatever the word is, maybe listening to trade offers at 3. Why? Because they're interested in taking a quarterback but don't want to take him at 3. It's too high. So maybe you accumulate a little more stuff, you move back a little bit, and they move back and take the quarterback, and maybe the quarterback they like is Jackson's Dart all along. Are you buying it, Tannenbaum?
Yes, sir. I like it a lot. And more specifically, you could do it one of two ways, your way or take Carter/Hunter. When Peter talks about moving back up into the first round, let's keep in mind, really important, you get that 5th.
A major news story has just emerged about the future of Will Levis, the quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, who could be on the verge of being traded to the Minnesota Vikings. In this video, I'll share all the details about this potential trade that could shake up the dynamics of both teams. Stay with me to learn more about this trade that's got everyone talking. Before we dive into the details of the trade, it's important to understand the context behind Will Levis's possible departure from the Tennessee Titans. The team has been working on improving its roster, and Levis has been a key player in trade talks. Right now, the Titans are looking for ways to strengthen other areas, while the Vikings find themselves in a similar situation, trying to find a viable backup quarterback for their starter. This trade could have much larger implications for both teams. The Minnesota Vikings are in an interesting position as they look to bolster their quarterback depth with a player who has experience but doesn't come at a high cost. Will Levis, with 21 career starts, appears to be a viable option. Although he may not be a great mentor, his potential as a backup is an advantage, especially if McCarthy isn't ready to be the starter in Week 1. Additionally, the trade would allow the Titans to free up roster space, while the Vikings would gain a QB2 with potential and a valuable pick for the future. What do you think about Will Levis possibly joining the Minnesota Vikings? Do you think it's the right move for the Vikings, or should Tennessee stick with him? Will Levis be a good backup for McCarthy, or does that position need more experience? Leave your thoughts in the comments. We want to know what you think. Now, let's get to the most important part, the breaking news about Will Levis and his potential move to the Minnesota Vikings. This trade not only impacts the Titans, but it could also change the landscape in the AFC. Let's see how things are unfolding. The Minnesota Vikings are seriously considering making a trade for Will Levis, the quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. This move would give them an experienced backup, something they've lacked since Sam Darnold left the organization. While Levis may not be a proven veteran like other available quarterbacks, his potential and starting experience could be just what the Vikings need to strengthen the QB position. This trade could put the Vikings in a better position to deal with any issues with their starter, McCarthy. If the trade goes through, it could have significant consequences for both the Titans and the Vikings. For the Titans, they would free up roster space and acquire a valuable draft pick in 2026, which would allow them to continue improving other areas of the team. On the other hand, the Vikings would gain a quarterback with experience to back up McCarthy, who has been injury-prone. If McCarthy isn't ready to start the season, Levis could be a viable option to take charge of the team. Do you think the Vikings are making the right decision by looking for a backup like Will Levis? Or do you think they should opt for a more experienced player? How do you see Levis's future if he ends up in Minnesota? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and let's keep the conversation going about this interesting potential trade. That's all for today on the possible trade of Will Levis to the Minnesota Vikings. Be sure to stay tuned for more news about this and other important NFL moves. I'll see you in the next video to keep you updated on everything happening in the world of football.